this is why I go after someone like Joy Ann Reid, because she has real pull. There are people that watch MSNBC who think Joy Ann Reid is a progressive, and they think that what she's saying is based on facts and makes sense. But Joy Ann Reid is the reason she angers me so much is because she comes off as somebody who actually has this deep hate for Bernie Sanders, and I don't understand why. I mean, you can have criticisms about, Chris Hayes or Rachel Maddow or whoever else is on MSNBC, but they don't actively hate on progressive politicians. They don't actively hate on Bernie Sanders. Joy Reid actively hates Bernie Sanders, and it drives me nuts. So yeah, I have one rant on there. It was just supposed to be meant for my patrons, but then after I shot it, I realized this is actually a good video, so I put it on YouTube. But yeah, she has these moments where, I mean, so after the Ossoff loss, all she's doing is defending the Democrats, defending why they lost. But when you had the more progressive candidate, and I believe it was Montana who lost, all she did was she all of a sudden turned into this person saying, "Oh, this proves that a progressive message can't work because this one guy who was attached to Bernie Sanders ran this one progressive race and lost." Meanwhile, the Democrats have lost 1,000 seats since 2009.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, the comparison is nuts. You can't just have one loss in a progressive race and say that the progressive message is dead. You can't run this way. You need to actually push this, and it needs to be supported by the Democratic Party, because if it's just these individuals trying to get up there and trying to get their voice out, but they don't have the actual money and the support behind them to actually push that message out there, then you're pushing them out there without a real support and base to be able to actually succeed. So until there's a real support base for these progressive candidates, then there won't be a real test to see if they can actually win. And people like Joy Ann Reid continue pushing this conventional wisdom and masking it as progressivism when it's not. And my hope is that people will, search up Joy Ann Reid or search up MSNBC and come across our videos and see, oh wait, they actually make good points. Joy Ann Reid is not telling me the truth. And maybe it'll change their mind on how they feel about MSNBC or about certain people on those networks.
Right. And, the thing that bothers me about, Joy Ann Reid basically doing apologetics for the neoliberals who lose and, blaming progressives for being progressive when they lose is that when you look at, or when you compare Rob Quist and James Thompson to John Ossoff, for example, I mean, the Democratic Party, the National Party basically surrendered those races. The DNC and the DCCC, they largely ignored them. James Thompson certainly until the last day, basically. So
yeah.
you can't really, unless the National Party invests in progressives, they're still handicapped because they don't have that the funding from the National Party, and they're taking no corporate money, so they're handicapped. They're at a disadvantage. So I don't think you can even compare John Ossoff to Rob Quist. So it is frustrating, when she goes out there and says, "Well, it's because of the progressive message." That's a really intellectually lazy argument to make. I mean, you have to be nuanced there. You have to understand the differences. So yeah.
And she also made the argument that because the state was white, that it was the best chance for Bernie Sanders to win. She keeps attaching Bernie Sanders to white people. Bernie Sanders has a working class message, a message really for everyone. It's not about white people. I don't know why Joy keeps thinking that white people are Bernie's most biggest supporters. When you look at polling, African Americans are his highest support base. Because, I mean, using your brain, you could just know liberals tend to be African Americans tend to be more liberal than white people. So when you have the idea that Bernie or a Bernie type candidate has the best chance in a whiter state is just insane. I mean, you have to go watch my video, but I break down her arguments for why she thought Montana was the perfect state for a Bernie candidate to win and ended up losing. But anyways, I could go on and on about Joy Ann Reid. She is just she's got a screw loose or something. I can't explain her anger towards Bernie Sanders, especially when you go back and you see a tweet of hers from, I believe it was 2010, and she was praising him.
Yeah.
So what happened between then and now? It's really interesting.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.